Sunday's road trip to Pittsburgh's Acrisure Stadium didn't turn out well for the Cincinnati Bengals, as they suffered a 34-12 loss to the Steelers they could ill afford. Drew Garrison of the Cincy Jungle placed the brunt of the blame for Cincinnati's loss on head coach Zac Taylor. Coming off a bye week, the Bengals looked unprepared and uninspired for most of the day. When a team comes out of a bye week looking like that, in their biggest game of the year, the blame has to land on the head coach. Taylor told Molly Schramm of Cincinnati station WCPO, "At times we found momentum, but it wasn't enough of that to go out and score enough points to win the game." Cincinnati dropped to 3-7 for the season as Pittsburgh answered its 33-31 loss to the Bengals a month earlier and remained at the head of the AFC North, 6-4. Post-game talk in the Bengals locker room focused on the need to improve the team's defensive performance, according to Fox 19 reporter Charlie Goldsmith. "If you can't tackle, no bye-week adjustment and no scheme change can save you," he wrote, adding, "Pittsburgh made some great adjustments for the rematch, and the Bengals didn't counter well enough in the red zone, and in short yardage situations in particular. We've got to do a better job of having more gang tackles than solo tackles," Cincinnati's safety Jordan Battle told Goldsmith. "Knowing where to aim is a big thing. The main thing, especially with big guys like number 80, Steelers 6'7" tight end Darnell Washington, is take their legs, make them stop, and the second guy can knock the ball out." It remains to be seen what price the Bengals may pay for drama that occurred between their receiver Ja'Marr Chase and Steelers defensive back Jalen Ramsey in the second half. Ramsey was ejected for throwing a punch in the altercation, but video from Cincinnati station Fox 19 appears to back up his account that Chase spit on him. Chase has denied the accusation, but if it sticks, he could be sitting out Cincinnati's next game, against the Patriots. Garrison said, finishing with only 3 catches for 30 yards, Chase wasn't able to make much of an impact on the game aside from baiting Jalen Ramsey into an ejection. Richard Skinner of Cincinnati station WKRC called it an ugly incident in what has turned out to be an ugly season for the Bengals. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has suffered what is believed to be a small fracture in his left wrist during the team's win over the Cincinnati Bengals, according to multiple reports and confirmed to PennLive. As a result of the injury, Rodgers is likely to miss time, but it is unknown just how much time he will miss. However, he has signaled to many people close to him that it should not be long-term, and he may not need surgery. Rodgers will get more scans done on Monday to see the extent of the injury and how much it will affect him and his ability to play. The injury occurred when Rodgers was nearly sacked on a second down before the half ended. He threw up a ball for Kenneth Gainwell, but 2 defenders landed on him. As he landed on the ground, Rodgers' left hand appeared bloodied. On top of that, Rodgers landed on his outstretched hand and suffered the injury to his wrist. Given it is his non-throwing hand, that could expedite a return to play, but players were told coming out of halftime that Mason Rudolph would take over for Rodgers moving forward. Rudolph played well in relief of Rodgers, completing 12 of 16 passes for 126 yards and a touchdown. The Steelers travel to Chicago to face a red-hot Bears team that is looking to continue their winning ways after a 19-17 win over the Minnesota Vikings. Their future Hall of Fame quarterback spent the second half in the locker room dealing with an aching left wrist. The perennial All-Pro live wire at the back end of their defense joined him after being ejected. And still the Pittsburgh Steelers found a way and steadied their season in the process. Mason Rudolph guided a pair of long-scoring drives after replacing the injured Aaron Rodgers, and the Steelers surged past the Cincinnati Bengals 34-12 on Sunday to remain atop the AFC North, while also playing without safety Jalen Ramsey, who was thrown out for throwing a punch at Cincinnati wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. "This was a chance for us to get right and get back to what we do," veteran defensive lineman Cam Hayward said. The Steelers, 6-4, did it with a mix of new, and in Rudolph's case, old, faces that looked comfortable stepping into the void. Rodgers, the NFL's oldest active player at 41, injured the wrist on his non-throwing hand at some point in the second quarter. It was unclear exactly when the 4-time MVP was hurt. He was hit twice during a drive in the waning moments of the half, both of which resulted in roughing the passer penalties against Cincinnati. The team initially listed Rodgers as questionable to return, though he was absent from the sideline in the second half. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin said Rodgers will undergo further testing on Monday. Enter Rudolph, the longtime backup who led the Steelers on a late run to the playoffs in 2023. He returned to Pittsburgh last spring after a year with Tennessee, though he quickly ceded the starting job after Rodgers signed in early June. It was only when Rodgers pointed to Rudolph during halftime that Rudolph knew he would be going in. The 8-year veteran picked up right where he left off the last time he took meaningful snaps for the Steelers, completing 12 of 16 throws for 127 yards, including a 5-yard touchdown pass to running back Kenneth Gainwell with 3:40 left that sealed it. "I love playing here. This is where I was drafted," said Rudolph, a third-round pick by Pittsburgh in 2018. "This is home, and yeah, it was very, very special." Pittsburgh's defense, which was shredded by Joe Flacco and the Bengals a month ago, added 2 touchdowns of its own. Safety Kyle Dugger, acquired in a trade with New England last month that looks shrewder by the week, intercepted Flacco and returned it 74 yards for a game-turning pick, 6 in the third quarter. Cornerback James Pierre added a 32-yard scoop and score late in the fourth. "Somebody gives you a gift like that, you've got to maximize it for the defense for the team," Dugger said after the 10th and perhaps easiest interception of his career. Flacco's run of inspired play came to an abrupt end. The 40-year-old, who had not looked his age since taking over for an injured Joe Burrow and ineffective Jake Browning, delivered his worst performance since joining Cincinnati, 3-7, last month. Flacco completed 23 of 40 passes for 199 yards with a touchdown and Dugger's interception. "You knew they were going to make it tough for us, and we just couldn't come through in those little moments," Flacco said. Spitgate? Ramsey and Cincinnati star receiver Ja'Marr Chase exchanged trash talk much of the afternoon before being hit with unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, with the Bengals driving in Pittsburgh territory in the fourth quarter. They were separated by teammates, only to re-engage after the whistle on the following play. That's when Ramsey said Chase crossed a line by spitting on him, which Chase denied. Video indicated some spittle came out of Chase's mouth while he and Ramsey were face mask to face mask, hitting the top of Ramsey's jersey. "I'm sure the NFL, they'll do their due diligence," Ramsey said. "They got 100 cameras out there. They can investigate. They can see everything. I just told y'all it's facts." Referee Bill Vinovich said afterward his crew did not see anything that rose to that level at all. Chase said he never opened my mouth toward Ramsey. "He didn't like some of the words I told him," Chase said. "We've been going back and forth the whole time, so I'm sure something got under his skin." Unsung heroes. Gainwell, signed as a free agent in March after helping Philadelphia win the Super Bowl last season, has found a niche behind starter Jaylen Warren. Gainwell finished with 105 total yards, 81 receiving, 24 rushing, and the second and third touchdown receptions of his career. Pittsburgh tight end Darnell Washington, all 6'7" and 300-plus pounds of him, gave the Steelers a jolt by finishing with 4 receptions for 67 yards, including a 31-yard catch and run in the second quarter in which he stiff-armed one defender to the ground and ran over 2 others. Injuries. Bengals. CB Cam Taylor-Britt exited with a left foot injury in the first half and did not return. Drew Sample was evaluated for a right oblique injury but returned. Trey Hendrickson missed his second straight game with a hip injury. Steelers. Wide receiver/kick returner Keshawn Williams entered the concussion protocol in the first quarter after taking a hit while returning the opening kickoff. The Pittsburgh Steelers may need to power through without Aaron Rodgers for at least the next week or 2. Rodgers appeared to hurt his left wrist late in the first half of the Steelers' Week 11 matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The 4-time MVP tried to break his fall with his arms after taking a huge hit while trying to extend a play deep in Bengals territory. You can watch the play here. Mason Rudolph replaced Rodgers in the second half as Pittsburgh cruised to a 34-12 victory. Rodgers is reportedly expected to undergo further testing on Monday to determine the true severity of the injury, but the initial concern points to a potential multi-week absence. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Steelers' QB1 is feared to have suffered a slight break in his left wrist. It remains unclear for how long Rodgers would have to sit out, but Schefter added that Mason Rudolph is shaping up to be the expected starter for Pittsburgh in Week 12. Rodgers has yet to miss a game this season. He has led the Steelers to a 6-4 record across their first 10 games. Rodgers has thrown for 1,969 yards with 19 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in his 21st NFL campaign.